Bermuda in the 1950s was a much different place than it is now. Schools, churches, and social spaces remained racially segregated, and many hotels and restaurants discriminated against black people as a matter of policy. Even public and private places of leisure were segregated, including movie theaters, tennis courts, and beaches. In early 1959, a group was formed with the goal of breaking down Bermuda's racially segregated social structure. They called themselves the Progressive Group and held their meetings in secret out of the fear that they and their families would be ostracized should their identities be revealed. By June 1959, they had devised a plan to boycott Bermuda's movie theaters as a protest against segregation. As going to the movie theaters was a popular form of recreation for most Bermudians in the 1950s, a boycott of this activity was seen as one which would make both a significant statement and impact. They were clear that they were going to execute their plan without any acts of violence. Letters outlining plans for a boycott were placed in a clandestine manner on the steps of the Recorder, a black-owned newspaper, which then published the information. The white-owned daily newspaper, the Royal Gazette, also published the story on the front page. One night, under the cloak of darkness, members of the group secretly glued posters with their details and instructions for the proposed theater boycott to as many telephone posts as possible without being detected. Flour and water were used instead of commercial glue to further conceal their identity. Throughout the week of June the 15th, crowds began to gather in this very spot, which was the hub of the three surrounding movie theaters, holding placards denouncing segregation. The number of those assembled grew and grew with each day that passed. By the second week, the boycott had been so successful that the theater owners closed their doors. They were losing money and thus conceded the call for change. By July the 2nd, the island's hotels and restaurants had announced that their patrons would no longer be segregated or discriminated against on the color of their skin. Bermuda's theaters followed suit. The support of the boycotters helped to bring down segregation in 2 weeks without disturbance or violence. The statue, When Voices Rise, commemorates the legacy of the theater boycott, a watershed challenge to the segregation in Bermuda, honoring centuries of resistance to racism and oppression.
Hamilton, Bermuda at its best.